High lamas, attained lamas, all right? Attained lamas, they actually can have visions of Buddhas directly and speak to them directly at will. At will. In emergency cases, these high beings will appear to them and talk to them. Example, Atisha was very famous for having direct connection and communion with Tara. Lama Tsongkhapa, after 7 years of intensive retreats, meditation, prostrations, 3.5 many prostrations, tens and millions of mantras and sadhanas, 7 years of staying in a cave, not leaving and meditating. On the 7th year, he had a direct vision of Manjushri, Lama Tsongkhapa. From then on, he would always communicate with Manjushri directly and talk to Manjushri. Before that, he couldn't. Before that, he had to go to his great Lama, the Nima Lama Umapa. Umapa was a very famed Manjushri practitioner and a very pure person. And he would have visions of Manjushri and tell Lama Tsongkhapa like that, and they talk back and forth through Lama Umapa. So Lama Umapa said, you can develop these abilities yourself. You don't have to go through me. You can't depend on me all the time. So anyway, Lama Tsongkhapa went into retreat in Pasa, in a cave, and with 7 or 8 main disciples. And they did the same retreats. Not everybody in the end had the same result because of their own efforts. But Lama Tsongkhapa, at the end of the 7-year retreat, had a direct vision of Manjushri. And it took them many years. Direct vision. Someone so great like that had direct visions of Manjushri and talked and spoke. And the relationship was very wonderful because some of the Dharma texts that Lama Tsongkhapa has composed has come directly from Manjushri. Directly. So we call it golden verses of Manjushri, verses that come from Manjushri's own holy mouth. And how do we know they're authentic? Because when you do those meditation practices, you get results. You definitely get results. It's not a matter of just saying, it's a vision and it works and no one can test it out. The great masters from Lama Tsongkhapa's time, 600 years ago till now, of all sects, have used some of these texts from visions from Manjushri directly, and they cannot say anything. Example, one of the texts, one of the teachings and one of the lineages that Lama Tsongkhapa had direct vision of was Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra deity manifested to him immediately. And put his principal, he has 24 arms, his principal arms he put on Lama Tsongkhapa's head and blessed him and said, you may carry on the lineage of Kala Chakra. So after that, Lama Tsongkhapa composed texts and wrote and taught on Kala Chakra. And that was his style. He had a vision and he taught. And today, the Dharma text, the commentary that's being used by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who travels the whole world giving Kala Chakra every year, is a text used by Lama Tsongkhapa's disciple and Lama Tsongkhapa from that vision. So someone of that personage using that text, and we have many texts of Kala Chakra, use that around the world. And it benefits how many people? How many hundreds of thousands of people receive Kala Chakra every single year? The Kala Chakra is happening right now in South India. In fact, right now, His Holiness is confirming that, using the text based on Lama Tsongkhapa's visions. Think about that. So if I suddenly have a vision, it has to have some kind of benefit. It doesn't have a benefit, forget it. It's just a vision. People who take mushrooms can have visions too. People who take enough, Jack or Daniels or whiskey, they can have visions too. So what does that mean? Vision is a vision. But it's accurate or not, you need to check, you need to know. So these high lamas have the 5 principal types of clairvoyance. Number 1, the clairvoyance of the divine eye. They can see into distant parts. They can see into other dimensions. They can see into the different realms of samsara. And they can see things that are very subtle. Very, very subtle. Example, spirits. They can see clearly. Alright? The second type of clairvoyance is divine ear. The clairvoyance of divine ear is to hear distant sounds and very subtle sounds. Very, very subtle that a normal person, a spirit talking, we cannot hear. Very subtle. Third is the clairvoyance of miracle powers. The ability to emanate in various forms by the mind's attained beings, the help beings. They'll emanate in many, many forms. Don't think that a clairvoyant person can only appear as a high lama or as a lama or as a monk. No. They can appear as a woman, as a dog, as a piece of meat for you to eat, a vegetable dish. They can emanate in many forms, inanimate and emanate as bridges. They can emanate as a prostitute. It doesn't matter because your projection of how they can benefit you is different than their projection because your level is here, their level is there. Someone on this level looking at that level doing things will not understand and be confused. Someone at this level, low, judging a person at this level, of course, what these people do, these people call it confusion, get anger, resentment, fight, always retaliate, always, because their level is not the same. If their level is the same, of course they're not going to fight and retaliate because they're talking the same. So a person of this level of this kind of meditation ability, or this practice, or have this kind of mental ability, then you have these people, there'll always be conflict. So if you're hanging around people of this level, you'll always have conflict. Always have conflict. Why? What they tell you won't do, what they say you won't cooperate, because you can't see. You can't see because you're not that level, but you try to place it off as, I don't understand, I don't understand, I don't understand, I don't understand. So there's a big difference there. Then, their clairvoyance are remembering their former lives. Their previous lives, dependent on the power of their clairvoyance. That's the fourth type. The power of their clairvoyance. They can remember their previous lives. How many previous lives they can remember? How far back is the power of their clairvoyance? And that clairvoyance will depend on the awareness developed from awareness meditation. Shamatha. Okay? If you do shamatha meditation, immediately you can start remembering things a few weeks ago, whatever, that becomes in detail. Through shamatha meditation, you can remember things that happened in your childhood. Eventually, you can remember your birth, coming out of the birth canal of your mother. And people can remember being inside the womb. And then, being inside the womb, must have come from somewhere, a previous life. You'll be able to remember your previous lives. Why? Your previous life and this life was connected by conception. So your previous life died, your father and mother joined, and then their seeds join, your consciousness go there. There's no break, it's a continuity. Since there's a continuity, it's a mind that's continuous. Therefore, if there's a break, you can't remember. If there's a break, you can remember up to this point, that's all. But since the mind is continuous and there's no break, you can remember far back. Into previous life. Why is that? If you can remember things that happened to you yesterday, why can't you remember things that happened to you last year? If you can remember things that happened to you last year, why can't you remember things that happened to you 20, 30 years ago? You can't remember because your mind is far away to remember, and your mind is preoccupied with a lot of other things. If I ask you things like, what did you eat for lunch last Wednesday? Immediately tell me now. Most of us here cannot. But if we calm down, quiet, we relax, we backtrack who are we with, what we did, what time, we can definitely remember what we ate. And with who and what. But immediately now, why the difference? The mind calming down. So like that, if your mind can calm down to that level where you can remember perfectly what you ate last Wednesday, which you can't remember immediately now, it definitely can remember 3 weeks ago, 1 month, 2 years, 10 years, 5 years. It can remember 20 years ago, the time of your birth, the previous life. What's the purpose of believing? What's the purpose of remembering previous life? Nothing. There's no purpose in remembering previous life. It's a byproduct of your meditations on awareness. That's all. There is no benefit in remembering previous lives at this moment for us. So we tell people, okay, my last life I was a cockroach. So what happens? I mean, everybody wants to be someone. Everybody wants to say that they're emanation of someone or something high. If you want to tell them that you're high, your incarnation is something fabulous, and you're some great lama, or you're some great priest, or whatever in your previous life, you got to show up for in this life. In this life, if you're cheating, if you're tricky, if you can't deal with people's problems, if you run away from your own problems, if you're not kind, and you only do things that you find easy, the things you don't find easy, you run away, that's not a sign of a high lama. That's not a sign of a high incarnation. That's a sign of another samsara being who took rebirth as a samsara being. Very simple. Whether you know you're a reincarnation of a high being or not, you check your mind. You check where your mind is most of the time. You don't tell people where your mind is. You check your mind. Because what you tell and check can be different. Can. Like Chinese businessmen got $5 inside the safe, they tell you they got 500,000 do business what? But you see, that is different. That is very, very different. Why is it different? Because that is outright lying about attainments. And we can't lie about attainments. We can't. So, the last type of clairvoyance is knowing other people's minds. Looking at them, concentrating or not concentrating depending on the level of your clairvoyance, you will know their mind. You can tell them the opposite, you can tell them directly, or you cannot tell them at all. Depends on if it benefits them or not. You will know their minds. You look at them, you understand immediately. You look at them, you can perceive, you can get a feeling. Sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's a flash, sometimes it's a really clear, you see them doing something actually that they've done before. You can see very clearly. Sometimes you actually see what they're doing like a video, what they've done. Sometimes you see what they want to do. Sometimes it's just a quick flash. Sometimes it's not even seeing. Sometimes it's just a feeling. A very, very strong feeling you can't get over of that person. Knowing other people's mind. And if they fight you, they don't leave, they resist you. It's okay. You don't need to prove yourself. If you really have that, you don't need to prove yourself because they can't deal with it because they don't have or they don't like what you know. And they don't want to become better. So they're afraid. They want to run away. It's very simple. Very, very simple. And somebody knows my mind. Most of us, that lama knows your mind. They run away. Why? What do you have to hide? For me, when I find out that there's a high lama around that has clairvoyance, I run there and I sit in front of him and I lick his slippers. Please tell me everything. What can I do? Why? I want to know. It's painful. It's hard, but I'd rather heal. Because I've heard many times, oh, let's not go there, they know. Or sometimes I've heard of crazy people not making eye contact with Tibetan lamas because they're afraid they're going to read into their soul. Look, they don't need to look into your eyes. They can look into your nostril and see what's going on with you. If they got clairvoyance, don't worry about your eye. Don't worry, but your eye contact shows whether you're afraid or not. If you're hiding something or not. And if you're hiding something from the lamas or your guru, then they can't help you. They can't help you. Because their purpose of gauging you is not to harm you, it's to help you. If you keep believing that they harm you, you're thinking on your level. You're not thinking on their level. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. And so, those are the 5 types of clairvoyances a person will have. High lamas definitely have that, like His Holiness Pension Lama, etc. They definitely have that. I've witnessed it myself with high lamas. Myself, clearly. Clear as day, not even maybe, not even a 1/10 chance. It's 100 out of 100. I've witnessed it. Definitely I've witnessed it. So what happens is this, many times, I don't want to get into examples, it's too many times. So in any case, these great lamas have these visions. But you see these great lamas, as time goes on, becomes less. It's very difficult for them to manifest in the world because of our negative karma and our negative mind and the need for them. There's always a need, but when we always fight with these lamas, and we always resist, and we always run away, and we always think we're right, we create the karma that we can't be around them. We create the karma that we can't have them around us and manifest around us, even if we want them very badly. Why? How do we think about them? If we think about something negatively all the time, it pushes them away. If we think of something positively all the time, or make it positive and change ourselves, it brings them to us. There are many songs like Calling the Lama from Afar, by Lama Tsongkhapa or whatever, that speaks about how to reconnect with our lamas and our gurus, even if they pass away, to meet them again in future incarnations. How? If we always have negative thoughts and trick them and lie to them or play mind games or make our price very high or we criticize, we talk about them behind their backs, if we do that, how do we get close to our lamas? How do we get close? How? And for some of us, it's only our lamas that can do anything for us. For some of us. So if we keep doing that, we do the opposite, how are we going to get what we want? Impossible. 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 Totally impossible.